April 19th, 1942. Welcome back to my War in the East 2 campaign. Last week in this heated war, my enemy chose to withdraw from a lot of his frontline positions. And while this move is done just so he can refit his army for his spring offensive, this doesn't keep him from engaging in combat this week. So as of late near the city of Astrakhan, I've been dealing with the 3rd Motorized Corps. This week he moves what is now the 34th Corps up into position as well. This corps, utilizing the 328th Infantry Division, opens up with a deliberate attack against my 4th Cavalry Corps. Now, a lot of these forces in this area are just blocking. They're very weak and almost pretty much depleted, so it's not surprising to see that they are routed and retreat. What is surprising is that I do get the information that he's sending in unescorted bombers. Now, I'm going to gamble on this when it comes to my air phase because I'm going to assume that this is going to hold true when I do my actions. Other than that, the only other 2 engagements that he does this week is in the same area with the same 34th Corps, different divisions. There's more activity in this sector, more Germans and Finnish troops are here, but he does 2 hasty attacks, one against a brigade, another one against a weak cavalry corps as well, and they both fall back. Yes, reminding that this is just a blocking force at this point in time. This area in between Astrakhan and Stalingrad is not currently built to handle like actual frontline combat. Now this is a look at my bird's eye perspective of my planned air campaign. And the one thing that I've done different this week, and really for the first time ever playing this game, is I went through all these missions and I planned the minimum amount of escorts. Now the thinking and the hope is that as they run their day 1, day 2 plans, and they reach day 6 or 7 when I'm going to do the heavy bombing, if they don't have 90-80% of escorts, they cancel the attack. Otherwise, they're just going to get shredded if the Luftwaffe is present. So right off the bat, I end up getting ambushed somewhere. It was on a recon mission, but in the south here, things are like I thought there would be, where he just does not have anything in range. No airfields. I'm not sure if he's building airfields, because I don't know if I'd see that at this point in time. Like, I don't know how that reconnaissance works. I don't have much reconnaissance down here. Obviously, that's why I'm running these 2 ground attack missions. Here at Astrakhan, I'm also doing 7-day-a-week bombing, just because he's already proven to me that he does not have anything there. Yeah, but as the week goes on, it becomes very clear that the main Luftwaffe presence is in from Leningrad, stretching all the way down my lines towards Tula. This makes perfect sense. This is where everything's the most developed and the most airfields are present. But as I watch this week unveil itself, and yes, the casualties are somewhat high, it is mostly fighter bombers and my biplanes that I'm risking. I'm still not using any level bombers in and around here, and it's just things I can replace. But the missions that I did run with their escorts does prove itself to be true, because they do cancel the majority of those missions. So while I don't quite do as well as I did last week, the success is still warranted. This is exactly how I have to use this Air Force. I gotta hide from the Luftwaffe where I can, even though I outnumber them 4-1, but when they meet each other, they're just not on par. And the numbers do show that. I mean, losing 221 fighter bombers is not ideal, 120 of them being the LAGG-3 model. I still make this stuff, so I'm not really going to mourn that. The ground side of things, I'm honestly looking at it from a little bit more positive light. Taking 2,000 Axis soldiers out is, I believe, lower than I did last week. The guns is definitely lower, 31. I mean, it's good, but it's the 12 AFV that I'm most excited for. Once again, I have never played the Axis side, so I just have no idea how their production chain works and how long it takes them to replace this stuff. But I do see on the metric screen this image. Now, I don't fully know how to interpret it, but it looks to me like he just keeps making this stuff, which is what I would expect out of the German industry at this point in being only 1942. But it doesn't look like there's any hit to him yet from the limited activity I'm doing. So my guess is I have to do more than I currently am. And that is fine if that's the case. It's definitely true that I'm playing this at this point in time a little bit conservative, mostly because of how bad my 1941 went. But moving to this screen, wondering why my oil is just shooting up, even though I've lost most of the caucuses. If I had to guess, it's because my activity and the amount of movement that I'm doing on a turn-to-turn basis is like almost nil. So I'm gonna guess most of this is coming from land lease. Digging through some further screens, I did see that there's a lot of polls sitting at various cities. Maybe that's it as well. I'm not totally sure. But moving on to the weather forecast. Looking at our current weather on this April 19th, things are very clear. That's why I did such an extensive air campaign. But looking at next week, the 26th, things look a little bit more rainy and muddy. On the ground, though, the main, and this turn did take me quite a long time, even though there's really not much activity. It was a lot of reorganizing. 8th Army went from Northwestern Front, switched over to the Volkov Front, however you say it, in the Valdai Hills. And I do that all the way down the line to try to free up some space because the Southwestern, the Western, and the Southern fronts were really maxed out, along with the North Caucasus Front. But I mean, that's a minor one. That's like a 36 command rating. But besides restructuring everything, I also do start advancing into the space that he has given me. I'm mindful of how far I move because my rail line reconstruction efforts are very subpar at this point, and I need more depots, and I'm going to have to repair a lot of this. Probably for him to just take it back anyways. So it's a very tentative advance. It's not something that's going to like build into anything. Now, the bulk of my planning is based around that I'm predicting mud. So I'm going to move the 53rd Army down here to take over this blocking force. It's going to get reinforcements from the various divisions that are in Ostrakhan and Stalingrad that have been refitting for the last couple weeks. And then they're going to try to dig in. We'll see if I'm successful in that whenever I get my turn back. Then it's just a matter of planning out Grozny. Here, he obviously has two rather strong infantry divisions south of the city, supported with Panzer Division and several motorized. In a good German manner, he's not going to attack the city. At least I don't believe he will. It's going to be an attempted encirclement, probably avoiding the hills and going straight up into the clear terrain. So I fall back, and the idea would be hopefully I get the mud that I'm seeing happening, dig in, get level 1 forts, turn this into a battle that might stretch into May. Unfortunately, on the northern side of the city, I'm finally getting into a position of strength. I do strike out against the 22nd Panzer Division. It's, for whatever reason, in a weakened state, and I am successful. I'm able to take out another 42 guns and 15 tanks. I then move up into the terrain that I recently pushed out, and I then assault the 60th Motorized Division. This division does not have any AFV, so I would consider this motorized in name only. I do take out 34 more guns, so that's a little less than half of what he had. Push him back across the river, and then I move up into that space. This is going to be probably where we sit kind of stagnant for a bit because his terrain now is swampland, and I'd be crossing a river, and I am not really that strong. I'd love to be able to turn his flank and really threaten him here. I just, at this point in time, don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So as I started my turn, this is the image that I was facing. And with all my reorganizing and restructuring, I did decide to advance along this axis in between Tambov and Stalingrad. Move up to most of these river lines, and the hope is to try to dig in there, because if he's going to give me the terrain and a new defensive line for myself, I'm going to at least try to take advantage of it. So as we shift to what happens at the end of the turn, it becomes pretty clear. I would have liked to have moved in on the Stalingrad units that he has, like, sitting there staring at me. But I sent a cavalry unit down, and there's stronger infantry than I'm currently able to deal with. So I sit back near the depot, and I just am going to refit if you're going to not move in and attack me. In the south, I went over most of everything. Obviously, the Grozny area has been discussed. Southwest of that, by the Black Sea, I'm pretty much just slowly retreating. He has units trying to move in between my two lines, so I'm not going to allow this many divisions to get caught and cornered. But I also just kind of want to keep whatever he has in this area kind of staring at me and focused so they're not elsewhere on the front line. And really, it's just a matter of just time. Whatever happens down here, honestly, from my perspective, he's already won. So the only thing that actually matters is just how long does it really take him to conquer all this. And if I can make that stretch into late 42, early 43, then that in itself is a victory with my new reassessed goals. I'm going to obviously send this back to my opponent at this point in time and just really curious to see when he pulls the trigger to start.